Hello there. Let's have a little chat about Shaw's Bird Park, which is a makeshift bird sanctuary from Hamilton. It's had a lot of problems over the last few years. Now, as far back as 2014, plans for a road to go through a part of their sort of complex area have caused a few issues. And in 2015, Murray Shaw actually came to an agreement with NZTA about where this was going to go. And then he changed his mind constantly. Over the pandemic, they fell in with the disinformation crowd, particularly with counterspin media, and that's just been going constantly since then. They had things like mask-free events. They've had scan-free events where you don't have to scan in when we were doing all that. Like, there's a lot of issues around them and their ties to that particular network and ecosystem. This weekend, they held something called Birdstock, which was supposed to be a great big music festival that they refused to get permits for, so it was technically illegal. But that's okay because only half a dozen people actually showed up for it. This week, though, they were raided by DOC after a number of complaints came through from people who were concerned about the welfare of the animals that they kept on the premises. And DOC took away about a dozen native birds that are going off to other bird sanctuaries where they're going to be checked before they get released. Now, you need permits to keep native animals. They don't have those permits because sovereign citizen bullshit. There's also been claims put out through various media outlets like Counterspin and Free NZ around a whole range of other crazy conspiracy theories related to Hamilton City Council, who they blame specifically for this raid. Some of these claims include paying off construction companies, making sure that the roads go in specific places, that the council pays up to $200,000 for the Waikato Times to be on their side. They even gave out things like the mayor's email address, phone numbers, contact details for councillors. And a couple of months ago, one of them actually snuck up to the ninth floor of the Hamilton City Council building to try and confront elected officials about what was going on there. This stuff is absolutely crazy. And of course, when you know that it comes from somewhere like Counterspin or Free NZ, most people are going to sit there going, obviously, somebody crazy is doing something crazy and it should be taken with a grain of salt. Hamilton City Council actually has a full web page dedicated specifically to combating the misinformation around this one park. It's quite impressive. So let's look at some of the claims and actual facts around the Shaw's Bird Park issue because this is something I've had to deal with for a long time while covering local politics down there. So, first of all, the council is well aware of things like the videos that have been made recently. I can guarantee they're already sending out internal communications on how to deal with it. The east-west road that's been proposed has been planned for more than a decade, and it was confirmed in 2014 after full public consultation that the Shaws took part in and were part of that negotiation. They gave evidence at a public hearing. They requested compensation and they wanted to make sure that everything was on the public record. So you can look it up yourself. And the council's been working with the Shaws constantly since then to try and get information over the line. But there's a lot of disinformation that they keep pumping out. So, for a start, the Environment Court decision actually confirmed that the road going through doesn't mean that they have to close the bird park. There's still plenty of other space for it. The bird park itself was actually open in 2018. Those hearings were 2014. So they knew what they were doing, they knew the road was coming through, and they still went ahead and built this facility. On that facility, they've got a whole bunch of trees and buildings and far too small bird cages that they keep their native and exotic wildlife in, that they've built specifically in that area that that road is going through. So that's all going to have to come down. A selection of that land as well that the bird park was on is actually owned by council. So it's not all entirely the Shaw's to begin with. There's been threats constantly to staff and contractors. Damage has been showing up on machinery in the area. The police have been involved because of this. Hell, last month, one of them even decided to go up to the ninth floor of the Hamilton City Council building to confront elected officials about this. That route for the road has been the same since the Shaws were first consulted. It hasn't changed at all. So they've known for nearly a decade that this road is going to be going through. And moving that road is going to cost the ratepayers millions of dollars. That area has a serious concern around road safety. And there are some other roads that have had major work done over the last few years to bring down the road toll. Moving that road could cause some serious safety concerns. And all of this is actually all public. You can find this on hamilton.gov.nz/Shaw because they've got so many people spreading so much disinformation about what's going on. Now, over the last weekend, there were over 30 complaints about from the bird park for Birdstock. More complaints than people that actually went to the event itself. And the rollout from the police was from Doc. Doc actually called them in and had nothing to do with the city council itself. While there, they were basically exercising warrants based on a number of complaints around the welfare of these animals, and they took away 11 protected native bird species. It was three tui, three keruru, and five ruru, which were in cages that Doc considered far too small and unsafe, considering there's also no license from these people to own or look after these particular animals. All of these protective native birds are actually going to go to authorized wildlife care facilities. They'll undergo an assessment by an independent vet, which will then decide what the next course of action is. The fact that Mr. Shaw has not had a relevant Wildlife Act permit is really big on this one, and something you will not hear from alternative media outlets. So, once again, if you see information that's coming from an alternative media outlet that's just making all of these claims without any evidence or anything to back it up, reliable sources, try and work out for yourself exactly what the truth is, because that information is out there if you go hunting for it. But a lot of these organizations work on the basis that you're not going to go hunting for it because they've told you for the last 3 years not to trust things like mainstream media. And this is one of the reasons why we have in place steps for mainstream media to double check everything that's going on and ensure the information that's going out is accurate, that these organizations don't have to deal with, which allows them to push bullshit that keeps you angry.